NXT Takeover The End is June 8th, and the reason we're starting fresh with this is because of the actual title being announced. But the significance of that as well. With that being said, the end could mean a lot of things. It could mean to the end of the NXT brand, which is highly unlikely. It could mean the end of the Samoa Joe Finn Balor feud, which we'll get to later. Or with the draft, it could be the end of takeover events. Or honestly, it could be the end of NXT. I'm not really sure what it means, but we should address the draft a little bit. What I mean by the draft is SmackDown is going live on Tuesdays, which means you don't have to worry about spoilers or anything because it'll be live. Which should have been honestly from the get-go on SmackDown back in the day. The way till now, it should have been on Tuesdays to begin with since they tape on Tuesdays. But that is neither here or there now because now it is every Tuesday starting July 19th, July 19th. But with that being said, the end could mean a lot of things. It could mean NXT gets an hour from Raw. Maybe NXT gets an hour from SmackDown or something. Especially since Triple H announced it to be the end. We don't know if that means the end of NXT. Like I said before, the end could mean anything at this point. It could be a name. We don't know. But if this is the final takeover, as some people are saying, we might as well go for the card right now. Because it could be one for the ages. Especially with some of the matches right now. First off, Shinsuke Nakamura. I probably butchered that name, but Shinsuke Nakamura faces Austin Aries in a potential match of the year candidate. A lot of people say, no, the match of the year is Nakamura and Zayn, which is true. But this could have the potential of rivaling that as well. Another thing about NXT, by the way, before we go on, just before I go to the actual pick there, some people have been saying that the name was Revenge, as it has been said on some tapings. But it is, of course, the end. With Nakamura and Aries is, again, a match of the year candidate for sure. But who wins this? This is probably... it's weird because it's Aries' second big takeover event, and it's Nakamura's second big takeover event. Someone has to lose here. I would not be objected to a draw, although it would probably never happen in NXT. Hasn't happened since the inception of NXT, really. Even in the season series of NXT, where it was just rookies. But with that being said, I have to go with Nakamura just because he's on a roll. It would make sense for him to win. I would not be surprised if Aries pick up the win, but it would be considered a minor upset. And the match we've all been waiting for, or at least I have, ever since Asuka's debut in NXT. The match is now for the Women's Championship, as Nia Jax will face Asuka. And Nia Jax did win the triple threat match between Carmella and Alexa Bliss last week, as Bayley somehow is unfit to compete. We don't know if it's an injury. We don't know what's going on. Could be anything. But with that in mind, it's a match that go either way. I mean, Asuka won the belt at the last TakeOver event against Bayley in a not a controversial finish, but just the way people have reacted to it. It was basically a face-to-face match, and people started hating Asuka for some reason. I mean, we saw a little kid cry over it, which was great. But with that being said, this will not be a match. This will be a fight. This might not even be a fight. It might be a war against these two. Again, this could ironically be a match of the year candidate, much like the Nakamura Aries match. But with that being said, I don't know. I really don't know what would happen here because we could have Nia Jax win the match, be a dominant champion, and Asuka just won the belt as well. So I would not be surprised if Nia won, but I'm going to go with Asuka here. And let's see here. Next up, we have American Alpha versus the Revival in their rematch for the tag team titles. Much like the last match, American Alpha just won the belts, so it would make sense for them to retain. And finally, Samoa Joe versus Finn Balor in a steel cage match, a first time ever in NXT, a steel cage for the NXT Championship. Now, we do not know, again, if the end is actually the end of TakeOver or the end of this rivalry, per se, because with the draft coming up, we could have both these men called up to the main roster. And for those who have not seen a steel cage match, unlike the Asylum you saw a couple weeks ago, there's a traditional steel cage, meaning you can escape from the door or over the top of the cage with both feet must touch the floor to win the match. Or, of course, pinfall or submission. But Joe just won the belt at the last take. Actually, he won it at a house show. Ironically, in the same building where he won the TNA title years ago. And with this being a steel cage, this is Joe's specialty. I don't even remember the last time Finn was in a cage, even as Prince Devitt. I don't even remember him being in a cage. This might be a first ever for Balor, and I don't know. But with that being said, the advantage has to go with Joe. Joe has to retain. And before we sign off here, I just have to say again, we do not know exactly what the end means. It could just be a name. It could be the end of NXT. This could be a night to remember. And it will only get bigger with the remaining few weeks to come.